And the Virgin Voyage, maiden voyage, a Virgin maiden voyage is now underway with the Off the Cuff Show 2.0, I guess, as we are labeling it on YouTube. I'm Mike. This is Dave. Welcome to the show. What is the Off the Cuff Show, you ask? It is me and Dave. And we have a wayward son. We're actually not sure which of us actually fathered Elijah, but whichever of us did, he's a wayward son right now.
Yeah, but neither of us are taking credit for him. So
not right now. Not right now. He is not in our good graces. He did make a fine thumbnail for this episode, and he will edit the audio, but he is yet to be seen. But we are Mike and Dave. We forever were on like the Mike the Cop YouTube channel and all that stuff. We have Mike the Cop is an internet cop that was killed in the line of social media duty. He is no longer. I am Mike Edwards. I am just myself. This is Dave, a former cop. But we're leaving that behind for the show where Dave and I just we're going to bring some popular headlines to the show, give our takes on those, open up discussion on that, interact with you guys in the comments because we do stream this live on YouTube Wednesday nights at 7. So be sure to subscribe there and hit the notification bell so that you get the notifications. Find the show. All of the past episodes that we've had in this current run are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And I am streaming currently to the Mike the Cop YouTube page just to let people know this show exists. And if you're interested in it, then by all means, you can watch it here. We're going to stream this episode here, but you can also make sure you hop on over to YouTube or audio, whichever you prefer, and get into the mix. All right. With that, the format of the show, again, is we usually a little smoke and joke a little bit, catch up on life. You get to know me, know Dave, know what's going on in our lives if you care. If you don't care, why are you watching the show? Don't know. But that's what we do. Then we dive into the articles. We'll give our takes. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. And it's just real. And if you like the show, then you're our kind of people, I guess. So,
well, we are talking about politics, kind of this podcast. So it's clearly one big joke tonight. So,
yeah, video's out of sync. Everything's off. Yeah, I apologize, guys. It's just I don't know what to do. I'm in a new office space, and there's nothing I can do. The internet is just absolute hot garbage here. So we're dealing with it, and the show must go on.
I do notice that
I went to T-Mobile and she picked up like a hotspot thing. What do you notice?
Well, because you're breaking up, obviously, and I didn't want to say anything, but I do recall a lot of shit talking when my internet wasn't working very well from both of you. And I mean, here I am.
And rightly so. I have not shunned the internet mocking. I have it coming. There's no doubt about it. So what I'm going to do real quick is I am going to shift networks and see if it's more stable or less stable on the other one. So you may lose me. You may not. I don't know. Stay connected.
Yeah. And while that's happening, I'm gonna actually just go through. So on, I get like the news on for Apple, and I gotta tell you, this is not stuff that I pull up. This is just something that happens generally for me. So Mike, if you got to do your thing, just do your thing, and I'll talk to the good people.
Okay.
Of the podcast. So I just want to read some of
the
ridiculous. You sound good. You look good. That was quick.
I'm back. Quick. Yeah, I just switched internet.
Yeah, no, I mean it's.
We'll
you seem.
We'll good. See. If maybe I'm the only one here at the offices, so maybe it'll calm down. All right. So, Did you want me to hijack what you're doing, or do you want to do it?
No. Let me just read. So, obviously we have a lot. There's a lot going on in the news. There's a lot going on in the news. One thing that I
Yeah,
am
I've picked
aware of,
out 3 articles for us.
yeah. And I have a couple other things I'd like to kind of discuss that are probably in relation to that. But I did want to read you my news articles that pop up on my Apple News, because
Okay.
this is what Apple wants me to read about. And I can tell you this: I don't follow any of this, which is why I don't know why they're pushing this so hard on me. The first one is Amy Robach and TJ Holmes going back to work together after GMA3 firing. I don't even know
I don't
what
even
that
know what
is.
that means.
I don't know who they are. I don't know what GMA3 is. And here's the very next one down. Schitt's Creek star Emily Hampshire apologizes for Johnny Depp Amber Heard Halloween costume. Ooh, I'm not going to
Oh,
click that. I think it's ridiculous. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? And the next one, Friends creator recalls why she was concerned about Matthew Perry at Friends reunion.
everybody knows.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. This is the Marvel, something about Marvel. Nate Bargatze. He's a funny dude, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. SNL rating soared to season high. Carrie Ann Inaba on Dancing with the Stars Halloween, from blah 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 Gomez to Barry Williams. Like, why is all I don't follow entertainment. I don't watch like any of that stuff. Why do I get all of this stuff when all of my stuff that
Are you sure? Because it seems to be curated for you, especially for you. Are you sure?
Hey, if it was, I would admit it. I would just say, you know what? I have a real problem. I got a real problem, and I need help. And that would be my plea. But this is not I swear to God, it's not the case. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, Mike. Well, so actually, we've been down a couple weeks. What have you been up to?
We have.
What have you been up to?
Man, nothing. Traveling. I went to San Diego and hated it. Other than the fact that it was 71 and sunny.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Like that was nice. But dude, like people's attitudes there in general, there was just a general air of jerkness to the people. I don't know what it was, like just from whether you stopped in a coffee shop or whether you went to eat somewhere, whatever. It was just, there was just a general air of jerkiness, and I did not enjoy it. And I thought that the East Coast had the bad rap for attitudes, but
yeah,
I'm an East dude, I'm just an East Coast guy. Like I love the coastal vibe. I love going to Florida. I love that laid back beach type feel. Or I can be in, like a New York City or a Philadelphia. Like I could be in a city environment, or I could be in a beach environment. I think I'm an East Coast kind of a guy. Like get me east of the Mississippi, and I'm a happier camper.
Of Old Miss, you mean?
But yes,
am I crooked letter?
Ole Miss, and it was super expensive. We went to breakfast at a hotel, and got breakfast for $4. It was $200.
Holy crap!
And we're not talking. We're talking a hotel buffet, like scrambled eggs, a bagel. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not talking about.
Oh, you're breaking up again, Mike. We're losing.
I don't know, some kind of like world class. We're not talking about world class pancakes or something. We're talking about just breakfast. It was $200. So
if it was like pancakes, Mike, would it be like, so if you're talking about like really fancy pancakes, would they be hot cakes at that point? Or is that like more of a lesser pancake?
What about crepes? Just really thin pancakes. Crepes with Nutella is actually good. That might have been worth $50 a person. Oh my gosh. So that's really it, man. I'm trying to recover from that and catch up after being out of town for that real estate conference. And just got back and cranking away. Lots of family stuff going on. And November is about the busiest month of the year. We were just working on the schedule. I don't have a single day in November where I do not. I mean, obviously, like you got work stuff, but even outside of work, every single weekend day in November is spoken for. It's like crazy busy, which I'm grateful for. I mean, it's a happy life. I'm enjoying it. It's just It is
Does-
busy. So that's been me. What about you?
Well, as you know, a couple weeks ago, I went to Gamehole Con, Madison, Wisconsin, for all
I
of
knew
us
you were
nerds.
going, but I didn't
Yeah,
hear a report of how it was.
yeah, it was fantastic. I really did enjoy it. I enjoy hanging out with those guys, and Joyce and Ben went to visit Joyce's sister who lives in Madison and her mom as well. And yeah, it was just nice. It was nice to all be able to kind of go out that way, and I mean we separated for a bit, and I even met them for lunch one time, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Now I've just been back to working as a
And you're liking your
non-pre-responder.
new job.
Yeah, I do like my new job.
You seem less stressed.
I
I gotta
am.
say, this job looks good on you, Dave.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to wear it well.
And then we solidified plans. I think we're like 90% of the way there for a triple date coming up soon, right?
Trying.
Well,
Joyce
yeah,
doesn't
I
know
mean,
about it, and Angelo's been, he doesn't know I'm sandbagging a little bit. So I even said I was sandbagging. Yeah.
yeah, you even said you were sandbagging, but
Can't
I
believe you
think
said it.
the plan is five finger death punch and Metallica concert here in Detroit to hang out there
Mhm.
together. So that's coming up. That'll be fun. Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice. It would be
We'll
nice.
see. We'll see
See
what
the old
comes together.
gang again. I really
Drag
do.
the old ball and chains out.
That's right.
You know.
So, but other than
Yeah.
that, everything's been good. I'm wearing a special shirt today. Did I ever
Ooh,
tell
that
you
is a
about this shirt?
police shirt. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
Maybe.
know it's because I was lazy, and normally I just wear this to this like relax in, which again is my new mantra. I don't know what they call that, but this shirt was okay. So years back, when this shirt first came out, this was for the Dallas, I believe,
Hmm.
officers that were involved. I think it was five. Was it five officers were killed?
Yes. Yeah.
And when that happened, it was around my birthday time, and I went out with some friends, some of them who are still really good friends, and some of them who are not. And we were supposed to like get an Airbnb. I think it was in Ann Arbor. Joyce would know better. And I think it was actually my birthday. It was where they were celebrating my birthday or whatever. We were out to eat, having some drinks, and we kind of got into this discussion with law enforcement and violence or whatever. And it was very strange. It was a really weird night because they just started trying to pile on me, which was really unusual. I know when alcohol gets involved, like sometimes people get a little bit louder about certain things or whatever, but um, they started kind of piling on me. The group is somewhat liberal, clearly, as you can like as I'm gonna retell the story, and they just started hammering on me like it was to the point where like it was hurtful. Like I know it sounds kind of dumb to say, but during that time, I was a police officer, and we were all, I think, as law enforcement and law enforcement family and friends, kind of going through some stuff at that point when those five officers were killed. That was a big freaking deal, and
Hmm.
how they we'll call it say neutralize how they killed the bad guy was with a freaking robot with explosives, and there was some kind of kickback about that, right? I mean, if
Hmm.
it was somewhat brief, but in the end, you can really only argue it so much because they did the job.
Yeah.
But that night, it was so like bad that Joyce and I went home. We didn't even stay at the Airbnb. It just wasn't a thing, and haven't talked to one of the couples since because it got that bad. Like it was nonstop. They were hammering on me about police and all that, knowing what I do. No, they've known me for a long time, and weirdly enough, like I don't know if it was the next day or the day after that. It was very close to that. This shirt arrived in the mail. Now I was like, I didn't know who it came from. It just like shows up at our door in a
Hmm.
package, and I was like, man, who got me this shirt? I had no idea, no clue whatsoever. I started asking around. Finally, another couple pretty conservative couple, like finally like fessed up, like, yeah, we got it for you. We just thought that it'd mean a lot to you and all that. And it was so crazy because like all of a sudden, and these were somewhat newer friends compared to these old friends that I had that really kind of hammered me that night. And it was just such a weird experience. Like it was nice. I keep this shirt. I really love wearing this shirt because it was nice to see somebody actually like not hammering on me, for
Yeah.
Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And that they supported me. They supported my family, and they supported at that, my career, what was really kind of my life. I mean, that's all I did was work and all that. So
Yeah.
so that's why this shirt actually means a lot. And I don't wear a lot of police shirts. I can tell you,
No,
I
you
don't
don't.
wear any police shirts. This is the only one I think I actually have. So
Yeah, I don't wear police shirts. I'm anti-police now. It's pretty much I've come full circle. I wear anti-cop shirts sometimes now. So it's
yeah, I know.
feels
I know.
good.
I saw that
Feels
Black
good.
Lives Matter shirt you were wearing. That was pretty nice,
Well, don't they?
Yeah,
What,
no,
you say they
it's
don't?
athletic cut. It was look very, very nice. I don't know how you were able
Athletic
to
cut
fit
on
into
me
a
ain't gonna look
small.
so good right now.
Yeah.
Boy, your boys got some pudge. I've
Oh,
already
my
put the
God.
winter weight on. My goodness.
I know. I put on my winter jacket. I was like, "Good Lord!" I was pissed. Joyce just like had enough. She's like, "Oh, I'm fucking kidding me!" Like, here we go again. Dave bitching about his fucking weight. Like, because I was actually pissed. I'm like, "What's this? Oh, fucking jacket doesn't fucking fit me, my fat ass. So I gotta go." She's like, "Oh, good Lord," rolling her eyes.
Right. One thing that did happen, and this will lead into our first article. One thing that did happen is we landed in San Diego. My business partner was waiting for me. His flight got in like 40 minutes before mine, so he just kind of like pulled up at a little restaurant or whatever, and we got into the Uber, started driving, and we pass the county, San Diego County headquarters, like their municipality, and there's hundreds of people out there, and there was a pro-Israel rally, and we're like, oh geez, great. Now we wandered into this. So we get to the Airbnb, we start getting settled in, and then we hear boom, like an explosion, dude.
Yeah.
And we're like, you've got to be kidding me. We're here when it all pops off in San Diego. Like where we were staying was literally
And
like
it would.
2 blocks away. Like it was very close. And I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh. And then boom, another one. I'm like, well, I don't have a gun. I've got only my wits about me.
Which isn't much.
Which isn't much, especially after a couple of the pops on the plane. I'm screwed. So so then we see we're literally like thinking there was just 2 pipe bombs that went off
Right.
at this rally or whatever. And then we see the tips of a pirate ship in like the Bay Area, like sailing through, and they were freaking shooting cannons, like a demonstration thing off the side. Like, why am I here? What is this place?
Jack Sparrow's on the freaking front of it, Come on. It's so ridiculous.
So yeah, this leads into the Israel thing. So obviously, well, I didn't really want to talk about Israel first because I wanted to talk about big government. But now that I transitioned, I guess we can talk about that first, eh?
Sure.
We'll talk about Israel first and some stuff about that, and then I have something that I want to talk about big government. In fact, the title of the episode was "How Big Government Will Not Save Us." Are we ever gonna learn our lesson? But specifically, what I want to share is this happening on college campuses.
Mm-hmm.
So
can't wait to talk about this.
This is what has been standing out to me lately is, and the news has been covering a lot of this, a variety of like all of the different rallies that are happening around the country. And at least what is being portrayed is that most of the college campuses, I mean, there's pro-Hamas flags, Taliban flags being flown, like more pro-Palestinian. And I kind of want to be somewhat careful about like distinguishing between like a normal random Palestinian, state citizen and
Mhm.
the terrorist group they elected as their leaders, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but the violence in Israel and Gaza. This is from NPR, and yes, I purposely choose more notoriously liberal news articles to read. That way, I'm not being accused of slanting something toward a conservative bent. I do enjoy looking at other news sources. The violence in Israel and Gaza has heightened tensions on college campuses across the U.S. as student, staff, administrators grapple with how to respond. Pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian student groups are weighing in online and in person, with many of their statements and protests provoking strong reactions. Not shocking. Take the controversy at Harvard, where dozens of students groups signed onto a letter at the Harvard Palestinian Solidarity Committee. Didn't even know such a thing existed. The day Hamas launched its attack on Israel, holding Israel, quote, entirely responsible for all unfolding violence. The letter garnered widespread backlash from students, high-profile alumni, politicians, even the Harvard president. Several groups have since redacted their support of the letter, though some of their members have been doxxed. So in New York, the New York University Student Bar Association wrote that Israel bears full responsibility for this tremendous loss of life. Protesters clashed at schools, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Indiana University. People were assaulted. The University of Florida, Vanderbilt, Ohio State, Stanford, Northwestern. So these are just a variety of colleges, universities where these conflicts and protests have been taking place. New York City had an entire bridge closed down for a demonstration. London had 100,000 pro-Palestinian protesters out, and there's people getting arrested. Germany has seen this. So yeah, there's been a lot of festering things in culture over the Israel-Palestine thing. And I think we talked about it on our last episode, kind of like when this broke. We kind of talked a little bit about it. But yeah, initial thoughts on what we're seeing on particularly college campuses and young thinkers about this.
Yeah, I'll tread lightly here. We're looking at a bunch of fucking morons. Here's the problem.
Hey, well, just be a little bit lighter.
I'm gonna just sugarcoat this. These fucking idiots. Here's the problem that I have is that these young people. First of all, I was watching the news, the local news yesterday, and Joyce and I are laughing our asses off because I was like, well, apparently, the only place where there is anti-Semitic problems and violence is at fucking Columbia and Cornell and Harvard. I'm like the big these premier fucking universities apparently are full of such fucking morons. And these students are, I'm so scared. This one person said some really mean things. I swear to God, that's exactly how it goes down. I'm thinking, man, again, we come back to the words hurt thing, but
words are violence.
Yeah, but beyond all of that, this is why you'll see this in the college environment, because these stupid fucking young kids are just following blindly because they have no concept on how other people live around the world. They just see things because they hate America. And I'm just going to say it. I'm getting tired of this. They do not like America, even though they rely on the United States for every single luxury that they have or will ever have, ever.
Yes.
They still hate America, and that's why they are pro-Palestinians. They're not even pro-Palestine. They haven't even said that. This is Hamas, a tyrannical terrorist fucking government. And you don't hear anything about that on this side of the water. It makes no sense to me. So clearly you're going to have these stupid college kids who are too fucking dumb to wipe their own butts are trying to have a voice. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the education system at this point is no longer educating, they're indoctrinating. It would seem to me. And what's scary about this, and this doesn't even go, we're honestly, we're not even really actually talking about who's right and who's wrong on this
No,
side of the
there's
conflict.
nothing to do with
Leave
it.
that aside. They're just wholesale swallowing
Yeah, exactly what I mean.
ideology that they could themselves not even articulate with any sense of objectivity
Yes.
or clarity or
Yeah.
any basis in fact. And that's, you could be ignorantly on the right side and also be in the same situation where you
Yes.
properly couldn't defend your position,
True.
even though your position would be technically correct factually.
But
So
that's not what's being projected, though. That's
no,
that side is not being
this is
projected.
just a lot of raw emotionalism,
Big
and
surprise.
pop, and what I would call pop emotionalism. Like it's just it's the in thing to do. And what's scary is that
Yes.
these colleges export culture. They ingrain and export it. So these kids go to school and then they go back to their towns, their jobs, their whatever, and they take that culture with them. So colleges are
Mhm.
places where culture is ingrained and then exported,
Yes.
and it's scary to not see intelligent dialogue, like, and maybe this is happening on a debate stage, but
No, it's not.
classic education would be having debates on these matters. They would have
Well, from
representatives
informed
and
individuals.
from informed individuals having intelligent debate in which the students would come, they would hear the arguments, they would question them, they would interact with one another, then they would go out afterwards and continue to discuss it. Like that happened. I was at a university, the University of Detroit, in the early '90s, and we had debate nights. We had nights where issues are being presented at such and such a hall, and so I mean, I know that it exists. Um, and I know that Michael J. West, he said, "Weren't you one of the boots of the big government?"
I
No.
don't know what that really means.
We'll just say no and leave it at that, because that's not really what we're talking about. And but yeah, it's this emotionalism in which most of the time they cannot articulate what it is that they're actually chanting for or
Yeah.
not. The other weird thing to me is I would have thought, the whole Russia Ukraine thing, I mean, immediately everyone just
Mhm.
tosses up their Ukraine flag, right? Hey, they got invaded.
Yeah.
So I'm on the side of the invaded party
Yeah.
because that's not right. That's not nice. Russia's big and mean and evil, and they might be. I'm not saying this is not a side issue. This is an observation about how people pick their sides
Yeah. It's a
with
push
a
narrative.
so you change your profile pic on Facebook or whatever. I'm Ukraine. So when I woke up initially to the invasion of Hamas into Israel, I thought for sure everybody's going to change their profile pic to Israel now. That's like,
Yeah.
now it's all Israel, which from my perspective is like, okay, well, yeah, the government's trying to draw us into another conflict, right? Like
Yeah.
I
They are.
I hold a belief that our
Yeah.
government would be super happy to stay in endless conflicts.
Yeah.
I think it benefits them, but so I thought that that would be the cultural response because that was the cultural response for Ukraine. But
Oh, yeah.
instead, it's like the exact opposite. People are like all of a sudden pro Palestine when Hamas invades Israel. Like it was mind-boggling. Not again, guys that are listening to this, replace Israel and Palestine with Timbuktu and Frolic Land. I don't care. It doesn't matter right now for the purpose of this discussion. It is about how quickly flopped based on pop information being fed to them thing. Your Apple News tells you this is what you're supposed to care about. Well, everybody told him this is what you're supposed to care about when it comes to this conflict. And even though ideologically it's the exact opposite of what you just had, it doesn't matter.
No, Mike, I fully agree. Again, I get pissed because we have a bunch of sheep out there who refuse to think for themselves. I have full respect. I have more respect for somebody who's considers themselves Palestinian, lives in this country, has family members over in Gaza right now, who's up in arms in the United States, because I fully understand. They understand the actual situation. Not just that, but they are also in full agreement on the culture there.
Mm-hmm.
But little white Nancy, little white Robbie, from the suburbs, has no clue what happens in other countries. They have no clue that just let's go back a year and go to Gaza a year ago. First of all, they were always lobbing shit at each other, one way or the other. This has been ongoing, and the whole steel land and all this other stuff. It's all ridiculous bullshit. But the problem we have is that these young kids buy into it. But I'll tell you what, I challenge. I'm not going to do it. Fuck that. I challenge all these young kids to go to Gaza as long as Hamas stays in reign there in Gaza, which I'm not sure that's going to happen or not, but because there's going to be I guarantee there's going to be an occupation. There's probably going to be a lot of guerrilla stuff going on, but but go back a year, go to Gaza, try to live there for 1 year, try to live in Gaza, and you tell me how free the United States is and how much that the United States is just sons of bitches, bastards. I get it. I am anti-politics myself. I don't like our big ass government either, but it's the greatest place on earth. And when all you do is say, look, I'm going to choose this side because America's doing this or whatever, it's just all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I hate it annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, I'm trying to put this, see if I can get this picture to load in here, because I think it's so typical. This represents to me the thinking of modern college campus kids. And this isn't like a broad stroke to say every college kid, but this photo encapsulates the nonsense with exactly what you were just saying. What this photo is, if you're just listening, is you have somebody who has the Palestinian flag, and then behind them is being waved the rainbow flag, the pride flag or whatever. And the amount of ignorance this displays is quite staggering, honestly, because wherever your stance on homosexuality is, or queer behavior, whatever your stance is, objectively speaking, it is in any state, in any Muslim state, that Muslim ideology or theology or law is imposed,
all of it,
you are going to be arrested and killed for practicing homosexuality. So the idea that they're holding both flags at the same time
in unity,
and they're not holding the flag out saying one day we'll all come together. No. They're holding them out as though this makes sense.
This is who we support.
But it does not. It does not make sense. So again, the point of what this brief conversation we're having about this isn't even the conflict itself or who's right and wrong. It is about how easily the minds of people on our college campuses are being molded to export this culture of ignorance, like a culture of ignorance.
Let me tell you, there was also something else I noticed. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist guy here. I'm not normally like that. But I got to tell you, the past, I say 4 or 5 days, and I think that I sent you one of those on Instagram too, where there's rubble. There are angry Palestinian men beating their chests and digging from the rubble a child, you know. And what I've just quickly started noticing is that, first of all, it's very odd that there are still children in Gaza to me. Very, very odd. Because when you look around on the major, like when they bring the cameras out, there's like 300 adult males. And then all of a sudden, there's like this clip where they're unburying this, well, I'll say a 4 or 5-year-old out of like an inch of rubble. And they've already been recording it. They bring this child out who's just like a little dusty and all that stuff. And I'm going, and I've seen this more often than not. I'm thinking, where do these fucking kids come from? And why can't they just sit up in this little pile of rubble that they're in? Like, I've seen this like probably 4 times. Ask Joyce. I've been laughing about it for the past 4 or 5 days. I'm thinking,
well,
how much of this
there
is
was
manufactured?
there was a guy that was caught faking. He was in a hospital bed. The EKGs are not even hooked up to anything real. Like it's a guy fake survived a bombing. He was fine. He was just literally faking in a hospital bed. So exactly, you don't know what you're seeing and it's real. And that goes both ways, because I've
agree with that.
I've heard, oh, they cut the heads off of a baby. I didn't see that.
No, they didn't show any of that. Really?
Where's that at? That was one person that said that happened. Where's the photos? Where's that? I don't know what happened.
I don't know that would have been released.
Yeah. Supposedly they killed 40 babies. There's no evidence of that.
Heads off. I know
that was reported though, and everybody was, and so then the other side is like, they slaughtered 40 babies. I don't know that they did. Like, I don't know. We are very, very far removed. And what is insanely annoying to me, and then we'll move on, it's because this is a good transition into the government discussion we're going to have. The same people who say you can't trust mainstream media, they're lying to us, they're pushing the big pharma narrative, the Fauci ouchie, all this stuff, whatever it is that they can't be trusted. This uniparty, the conservatives are no better than the Democrats. They're just shoving this agenda down our throats to keep us. Those same people are now shouting from the top that we've got to back Israel and we've got to do this, falling right into the uniparty message about what we need to do with our forces.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish truth from reality in this bizarro world?
Especially now, because even AI, and not that people that they're using AI, but like you can replace somebody's face and make movies now. I mean, it's not even a question of whether that technology exists, which is why a lot of the writers strike is happening, which because it's partially there is an AI issue to that as well, because of the writing. And I'm thinking, man, it's very troubling, because we don't know what's truth or fiction anymore, because technology is so good and we are only being exposed to what they want to expose us.
I saw a clip the other day of Unreal Engine 5. It was like a cityscape, like an apocalyptic scene with a car on fire. If it wouldn't have said this was built in Unreal Engine 5, I would have just thought it was a car on fire. I mean, it's so realistic.
Unreal.
And to think that the government that just 2 years ago everyone was saying, well, you can't trust, all of a sudden, just because it's Israel, is now like, you know what, guys, we're coming clean. We're going to be the most trustworthy thing you've ever seen. What do you think changed?
Yeah.
And that it's not even an issue of conspiracy. It's just like, I just don't understand how people are so easily able to draw such fast lines on something that we don't really have that great of a grasp on.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree, Mike.
All right. So that said, people think that big government is going to be the answer.
Yes.
People think maybe you're one of them. Big government is going to save us, right? And I don't know when we're going to learn this lesson. I don't know what it's going to take for Americans to learn this lesson, that big government is not the answer, right? So this article that I found from Reuters, big government will drive the next market cycle. Is that good that big government would be in the driver's seat of things? I don't know. London, October 31st. Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Ronald Reagan's declaration when he took over the U.S. presidency. And that is why a lot of people like Ronald Reagan. In January 1981, signaled the start of a new economic era steered by markets and enterprises rather than the state. The 2008 financial crisis marked a temporary return to public intervention, but the global pandemic followed by the invasion of Ukraine may represent a more lasting turning point. And I would like to point out that the World Economic Forum has stated intentions of globalism, right? That's what we're talking about here. There's the idea that nationalism and patriotism is bad, and globalism is good, is what is essentially the two sides of this. And Reagan's adherence to free market principles, promoted by the likes of Milton Friedman and followed by other leaders such as Britain's Margaret Thatcher, brought profound change to the global economy. After the protectionism, stagnant growth, and runaway inflation of the 70s, the doctrine known as Reaganomics promoted free trade, deregulation, fiscal austerity, and smaller welfare state. Those ideas coincided with an expansion of international commerce. World trade went from 1/4 of the global economy to over half last year. According to World Bank data, growth picked up while acquiescent inflation permitted interest rates to fall. The 2008 financial crisis partially reversed those trends. On and on it goes. But this chart shows industrial policy interventions are rising around the world. I mean, just look at from 2010 government policy intervention, even in just the last 13 years, has skyrocketed, right? The International Monetary Fund predicts the U.S. government's cyclically adjusted budget deficit, excluding the effects of economic gyrations in expenditures and revenues, will remain above 7% of GDP until 2028. As recently as 2014, that was 2.7%. So there's just a lot going on. This is kind of gets a little bit economic class wise, but the whole thing that stood out to me is that what is driving the market? Bigger government and bigger government intervention. And I don't know when we're going to learn, because we talked about this in the past in other projects, but the Revolutionary War was sparked by way less taxation. Way less. But yeah, I digress. What are your thoughts?
Well, okay, so it's weird that we started kind of talking about this, because today, which is why I kind of responded the way I did in my text, because you're like, what do you want to talk about today? Was because I saw that the Fed was leaving their interest rates. They're not changing them. And it made me laugh, because immediately I thought of big government. Now, we talk about the Fed as not the government, but we know that it really is. It's essentially, it's by all.
It's the way the government manages all the money without the government managing all the money.
Without government oversight, without any oversight.
Exactly. To escape the necessity of Congress holding the purse.
Yeah, and if you disagree with that, then I mean, you are always entitled to your wrong, opinion. You're always entitled to it, even if it's dead wrong. But it made me laugh, because I was thinking that very thing. I said, the Fed decides our interest rate, and why do they do that? Why? I mean, you tell me, Mike. Why would the Fed change our interest rates? What are they trying to do? I mean, they're just trying to make things better for us, right?
They're trying to save us.
Yeah, right.
They're trying to improve. They're trying to implement Bidenomics, which is good for everybody.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Like, so they're hoping that higher interest rates are going to do what in the end? They're going to slow down purchases, right? So they're trying to manipulate.
Trying to manipulate
Yeah,
inflation.
they're trying
Yeah.
to manipulate. They're not trying. See, and I think inflation, the idea of inflation, in is really funny because it's not really doing any of that. The thing is they're trying to make it so people don't spend money by increasing the interest rate of the loans that you. Do we not see this? Like, do we not? Is there not an understanding that the Fed just arbitrarily decides how our interest rates are going to be set, whether up or down, on how they want the economy to run? Right? It just does that not just seem a little bit weird to you?
Yeah,
Like
well,
immediately
that's
I was just started laughing about big government.
the Fed is able to, again, this is oversight of us by a private entity in the hands of the government. It's a very weird thing, but when you just spend money like on wars, for example, and you just start saying, oh, well, we're going to give, I'm asking Congress for 100 million. Okay, well, or 100 billion.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? Like, we don't, like, I feel like the Fed is kind of like in this sinking ship, just like how many fingers does the Fed have to plug holes? Like, what's going on? Like, you can't give away more money that doesn't exist. So we can't allow a more purchase rich environment while you're deflating the dollar into nothingness. It doesn't make any sense.
It's
just
the whole idea of it's just laughable. And here we are. Here we are. We are completely fine. I know these people are thought that they're fucking insane. The guys are like, let's go back to the gold standard, or, all that stuff. When we tease that, that's fine. But holy crap, what did we get ourselves into? And how, I mean, this is just ridiculous. And they were actually just talking about it because they said they left the interest rates unchanged, but they were actually going to bump it up again. So like it wasn't going to go down, Mike. We know this. It wasn't going to go down. They actually said,
my understanding is
it
can't go down until we get more workers, until more people are doing worse. Then they can lower it. But
well, can I tell you something about that? Because what you just said is kind of like a segue into partially what I wanted to talk about also with big government and kind of like the manipulation that's there, because I don't think that anybody will argue that it is hard to find good help nowadays. And that's not just an old timey saying from an old white dude. I mean, I'm being serious when I say that all the businesses that I've been involved with, Sterling Heights had great difficulty hiring. Where I worked for the security firm that I work for, it was extremely hard to find bodies. And where I am now, it's still very hard to find people to work. I don't know if this is a normal cycle, because this is the worst that I've seen this. And I wanted to see why is this happening? First of all, I have no answer as to why it is happening, but I can tell you this, that as the White House like claims that they're providing jobs and this is happening and everything is going great, I started looking into some of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and I went to BLS.gov. This was for 2019 because I was actually kind of curious as to what was our unemployment in 2019. So right before COVID hit. And this came out in this was from April 20th. So when we know that it had already been kind of an issue, COVID had hit really hard. It said job market remains tight in 2019 as the unemployment rate falls to its lowest ever since 1969. So when Trump was in office, and I'm not saying that it was just because of Trump, I'm saying is we're talking about cycles here. The U.S. labor market remained strong in 2019 as the unemployment rate fell to 3.5%, the lowest rate since 1969. Both the employment population ratio and the civilian labor force participation rate increased over the year. Levels of long-term joblessness and involuntary part-time employment continued to trend down. Now, from that, I looked at the Bureau of Labor. The data, BLS.gov, is pretty clear on this. There is a graph, and we know that in January, February, March 2020, that it went up to about 13, almost 14%. We all know that, right? And that's kind of when he took over, when the Biden administration took over, right?
Mhm.
And everything from that time on was a downtick, all the
Yeah.
way up into like mid 2022. Although unemployment is starting to go back up again. But it was already on the downtrend even since 2013. So and then of course COVID hit, and I just see it, like you read it in social media. The White House puts it all out there as well, that Biden is doing such a great job with unemployment. And I can tell you this, that his unemployment did hit 3.5 in December of 2022, 3.4% in January, 3.4 and 3.6%, and it's on the uptick. This is just goes through September. It's actually at 3.8. So, but I can tell you that they keep saying that it's the lowest in its history and all that other stuff, and it's actually just not. It's not true.
Yeah, of
But I
course
can
not.
tell you that the only reason that my guess, the only reason that this unemployment went down again, well, first of all, they had to stop paying out free money, but these people are now having to get paid more because they didn't want to go back to work. So that was not creating jobs. It was people returning to work for better pay. Because I can tell you where I worked with Securitas, they had no choice but to raise the pay $3 an hour. So because they couldn't find anyone, and still to this day still had a hard time filling the seats. I mean, I'm just curious as to how much of the decrease in unemployment is due to the fact that now we have to pay so much more than we did before. And of course, which is doing what? All of our all the price of all of our shit has gone up. There shouldn't be any human being on the planet Earth that doesn't say, well, shit, I'm paying so much more for gas. My fucking groceries are out of this fucking world. Like my utilities are up. Everything is up. And yet I even my pay raises never kept up with the inflation that we've had so far. It just makes no sense to me. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I mean, I don't find any fault in what you're saying. Like it, it it's they always lie. They always say, "Oh, this is the best it's been," or "This is great," or "This is unprecedented." And it's like,
And people believe
you
it.
know,
They don't look
and
into it.
5 minutes on Google, you can find out, which is that's what's really crazy baffling, right? Is in the age where more information is available than ever, we seem dumber than ever. Why is
Yeah.
that? I don't know. Like just a sheer reliance on that. We're entertaining ourselves to death or whatever else. But I have, it's I guess a theory about why we trust big government. And there is there's a Catholic author, G.K. Chesterton, and he wrote some amazing stuff. But he's known for a quote: "Once abolish the God, and the government becomes the God." And so people will unquestioningly serve their God. Um,
Oh yeah.
we are, as creatures, we are wired to worship. We're wired for it. And so in the absence of a commitment to a God, or the God, discuss that later. But the government is viewed as the savior. You have sickness, the government can help me. You have hunger, the government provides.
Yeah.
You have transportation issues, the government does that. I don't know how to educate my kids. Don't worry, the government can do that for you.
Single parent household. I will be the other spouse.
Yes, I will fill in where the man let you down. Like
where there's a shortage.
It is a crazy phenomena, but that's why. That's why we'll trust it. That's why we'll trust it when it contradicts itself or when it doesn't deliver, right? Do we have increasing numbers of people in hunger in this country? It's the same thing like we had that mass shooting in Maine, for example. All this coverage, but then a mass shooting happened in Tampa the next week. No one said a word about that.
True.
No one said a word about 15 people in a mass shooting in Chicago that week. No one said a thing about it. We didn't hear about it. I mean, it could be because the perpetrators were Black in that case and the perpetrator in Maine was white. Could be that. But there's just inconsistencies on every side. But the government is going to save us. They come out and they say, like, the solution is this. We're going to end gun violence. Like, we're going to bring peace. And obviously that doesn't happen. But that's what they want. If you give us even more power, the problem is we can't deliver on the results we want to give you because you don't give us enough power. If you just gave us everything, we could give you everything in return.
Yeah.
And
we just need more.
We just need more. And look how that has turned out for the nations and peoples who have done that and the empires who have done that in history.
Yeah.
And again, more information about the fall of empires and the fall of nations and the fall of leaders in history. More information is available than ever.
Yeah.
And yet we fail to pay attention to it. So big government is not coming to save you. And you know who else isn't coming to save us?
Who?
Matthew Perry.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's not coming to save us.
He's swimming with the fishes.
Sorry guys. If that was a little too raw for you.
Too
raw. Yeah. That's not the right screen that I want to share. Hold on a second. Stop screen share.
Is this gonna be a Perry meme or something?
No. I'm not putting any memes up, but I just thought this is interesting as often. And I'll ask a couple of questions about what your take is. But this article is how the investigation to determine how Matthew Perry died. This is like this is like a pop news that I'll throw out there for us to discuss. Hours before he died at his Pacific Palisades. I mean, how the title just cracked me up. Inside the investigation to determine. It's not going to be hard. This isn't difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not. You're right.
You're right. Inside the investigation, guys. By investigation, they mean a completely standard procedure in which they're taking his body to the morgue and a doctor is going to cut him open, take his blood, look around, test the blood, and see the cause and determine the cause of death. There's no investigation. There's no evidence of foul play. It's just it is what it is, right? There was, just to bring you up to speed, there was no drugs found at the location or whatever else. But the fact that they need to devote an entire article to inside the investigation, like, no, there's no investigation even happening. Like, what are you talking about? It's not extensive work ahead. It says experts say the team will work extensively, likely take a couple of months to complete. Why does Matthew? Why it doesn't take that long. And why would Matthew Perry be more deserving of 2 months of attention on his autopsy than, my Aunt Maud? Why? Who also died in a hot tub. Like, what does it matter? Like,
did you say your Aunt Maud?
Yeah.
In a hot tub.
Harvey said
that was true. I'm not going to be
Craig Harvey, a retired chief of coroner, said, an autopsy may have answered a lot of fundamental questions about his body. Yeah, no
Yeah.
shit,
Or all of them.
Sherlock.
You
Or
moron.
all the questions about his body. Yes. I just listen. You can
Oh my
if
God.
you're a relative of Matthew Perry and or you're someone that was close to him, yeah, death stings. It sucks, right? I just lost a cousin in the family a couple weeks ago. Like, had to go to the funeral. Like, death sucks. It's I'm not making light of the fact that people have to endure this in this life, and it's not easy. But what's funny is, again, I saw people commenting on it. I'm devastated. Like, why are you devastated? Why are you devastated? Someone else put that, dude. I'm gonna read it, which means I'm also gonna out this person.
You're devastated.
They won't. They don't listen to the show. But let me see. I want you to. You got to hear this. And this was not something that was unique to this one person.
Okay.
My heart is shattered. It feels like a part of me. This is someone that does not know Matthew Perry. Okay. It feels like a part of me has been taken away by this tragic news. I usually don't post about celebrities, but Matthew Perry was just a part of my upbringing. Like, a part of me has been taken. My heart is shattered. I just like,
really interesting.
all right, I guess. Like, I feel nothing. And I feel nothing because I even said, listen, in all fairness, when I die, I fully expect, instead of a normal viewing the night before my funeral, it is the roast of Mike Edwards. And I want my friends to roast me.
Yes.
I want everybody to be in a room together, have a great time, and just rip on me. I mean, go to town, laugh it up, have at it, get a jab in before the casket's in the ground, have fun. I expect this treatment. I expect memes about my death immediately, please. So I started sharing. There's some pretty savage memes out there and gifs and all that stuff. And
yes, there are.
But what do you think about this celebrity death sort of thing in culture?
So I'll tell you a little bit of my story, and I feel like I've told this story a little bit before. Now, when it comes to actors, I don't feel much of anything for them. I've always said, just dance for me. I don't want to hear your political opinions. I don't want to do it. Just dance for me, and entertain me. But so I can understand.
Just dance.
Right. That's it.
Just dance.
But when we're talking about actors, first of all, it's not like this. It's not like Matthew Perry had done anything relevant. This wasn't like in the heyday of Friends, like that, and so he was again, unless they knew him personally, he wasn't a guy who was always out there relaying his stuff. We know that he had some drug and I think alcohol problems, and he did some other stuff, and I get that, but at what point, like, I do have to say, so when we've talked about Drew and Mike, they were a Detroit, like, a duo, and Drew and Mike were kind of like booted off the riff for a cheaper clown act, Dave and Chuck the Freak. And if you like Dave and Chuck the Freak, I'm just not my kind of person, I guess. I don't know. Maybe
Dave and Chuck the Freak are like every other morning show in every town. You can literally drop into any major metropolitan area, turn on the radio, scan it, and you will find that town's version of those people. That was not the case with Drew and Mike
at all. But they were like the Dave and Chuck the Freak are like the epitome of 90s shock jocks that people make fun of nowadays. How overbearing they were. But Drew and Mike, I mean, I was talking to my buddy Greg when this whole thing happened, but it was weird because Drew and Mike were very like personable. Like you knew like everything that was going on in their lives with their other halves and all this other
Mhm.
stuff. And so when they got taken off the air, they started a podcast. And Mike became ill and he died.
Mhm.
He got really sick. And even during that time, he was very like he tried to be on, but he was having like I think it was esophageal issues or whatever, and he ended up passing away. And I'll be honest, I was bummed. But my life wasn't shattered, but I was bummed because I was like, man, it's crazy because he wasn't an actor, he was a real person. And he like for 15 years we drove home with him in the morning, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that was like
Yeah.
who he's the guy who got me home alive and not falling asleep because I worked midnights, laughing or whatever. So I can say that I was bummed for a few days. Like I was like, why am I feeling kind of bummed? I feel like okay, maybe it was because of that. But like my life certainly wasn't shattered. And Mike wasn't like I said, he wasn't an actor. He wasn't putting on an act. You just felt like you kind of knew him. It'd be like,
Yeah.
honestly, Mike, if one of us passed away, you can imagine the people who like us, who listen to us, would be sobbing. They would be
Inconsolable.
they would be tearing their clothes, and praying to whatever God,
Help me, Oprah Winfrey.
So but yeah, I mean, so maybe there is a little difference in there, but yeah, I mean, I guess he hadn't been relative for a long time, and so I'm not sure exactly why
I watched
people
Friends
are
like everybody
so
else, like multiple times.
yeah.
Like
I was a
I get
fan.
it, but yeah, I mean, the
But you can
reality
still
is
watch the
that
shows.
yeah, there's a the closer someone is to you in real life, the weightier the loss is going to be.
Yeah.
That's just the gravity, the natural gravity of death. That's just how it is. If someone has nothing to do with you, like it's just,
Like
I think
nothing.
there's a certain sense that you could be upset, like uh objectively from someone like maybe in a position, right? Like, but even then, I still don't understand. I don't understand the mentality. Like when JFK was assassinated, people were like sobbing in the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I don't even know that I can relate to that very much, other than the fact that it's like The Office. Like maybe the fabric of how The Office is tied to our national identity and that kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Like maybe there I could see like, boy, wow, this really hits me hard. Like this is a big thing for America, and
Yeah.
you're recognizing the gravity of the situation, not so much the man, right? Because JFK. I mean, a womanizing dude that took us to the brink of end of civilization. Like, dude, like nobody cared about him. Like
Yeah.
in a general day-to-day basis. Come on, man. You
Yeah.
know, it's yeah, it's a weird phenomena, but the headlines of people reaching to just say anything for the sake of saying something to be caught on a headline, like trying to make it sound like an autopsy is this detailed investigation of whatever else.
Mike, maybe
And
it is. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they really did like something really cool and different this time.
maybe they did. You're right. I could
There's
be
probably
wrong.
something new that they're trying out, but only on celebrities or people with big money. So
Maybe, yeah, special autopsy,
they're
I don't
using
know.
special staples to fucking put them back together.
Man, was that wild? Did you ever watch an autopsy?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's wild. It's just wild.
Dude, my first experience was so they brought us when I started DPD to the academy. They took us down to the Wayne County.
God, it
Whatever.
smells so bad in there,
Oh,
dude.
it's horrible. And I remember they had because they didn't what guys and girls when you're talking about like humans and fluids and things of that nature, you don't put human things in plastic. It's not what you do. You will contaminate it. But they do use paper bags.
Mhm.
And they poured this dude out that got ran over by a train.
Oof.
And it was like it looked like just a brown paper garbage or grocery bag. And they're just like, "Book-a-doo-dook," and the guy just was like in like a few like I was like, what the fuck was that? Like it was just like little like this. There's nothing left of this guy, and they just dumped him onto that freaking that metal table. Too. I was like, oh,
Guys,
God.
hold on. Let's give this one the Matthew Perry treatment.
That's gonna be from now on, like the Matthew Perry fucking treatment. That's so
Oh my gosh.
ridiculous.
So yeah, I get that memes in the wake of someone's death are not appreciated by everyone, but it's okay. And I do not have a double standard with it.
No, you do not.
Bring it. I expect it. I want it. It's going to be in my will. I'm literally going to be updating my will before the end of the year. So like I'm putting this, I'm not kidding. It will be in there.
Mhm.
And so it's going to happen when I die.
I'm gonna so bring it too. Your dad is gonna want to kick me right out.
My dad will hopefully be dead.
Well, oh no, you're going before him. Not even a question.
Is that what the internet thing said? You logged in and put my birthday in or whatever? It's like gave me my
I didn't
death
have
date?
to. I know your lifestyle. You're in trouble.
It's true. Well, I'm flying around drinking, trying to avoid cannons in San Diego. You know, guess.
Oh goodness.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. This has been the first video on our new channel, and you can expect more like this week in and week out. We'll just be like rolling through the headlines and letting it lead to good conversation and back and forth. And it gets better and better the more and more people that are in the comments interacting and engaging with us. We love it. So make sure that if you haven't subscribed and hit the notification bell, you do. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just make sure you hit the plus sign, right? Like follow there, subscribe there. Drop a rating and review. If you laughed at the show, if you enjoyed it, if you got engaged by it, then drop that rating and review, and we'll keep the show going. If you want it to keep going, we'll keep it going. So
yeah.
all right, boys and girls. Later.